My grandmother issued a brutal ultimatum threatening my inheritance unless I ended things with my boyfriend. So I exposed family secrets, stood my ground, and found a new path forward. I stared at the message as if my phone had turned traitor. My heart thudding so loudly I worried my roommate in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, might hear it through the walls. I'm Elena Martinez, 26 years old, born and raised in this city where my grandmother first taught me how to bake her famous apple pies in a small kitchen that smelled of cinnamon and love. I reread the text. End things with Jackson immediately, or consider yourself disinherited. No hello, no love, just that stark demand. The words blurred as memories flooded back. Summer evenings at her house on the north side, her gentle voice offering advice about school or friends, the way she tucked a blanket around me when I was sick. She was my anchor when Mom got sick in college, sending care packages and encouraging notes. And now this, my fingers hovered over the screen. Jackson, my boyfriend, had been my rock these past 2 years, supportive after my job loss, helping me move apartments, listening patiently when I doubted myself. He still thinks I'm invincible sometimes. Right now, he's downstairs, humming in the kitchen as he makes coffee, blissfully unaware. I feel a stab of guilt at the thought of dragging him into this mess before I know how to handle it myself. I replay the moment. I was checking email when I spotted a text from Grandma's number. I braced for a friendly check-in. Instead, it felt like a verdict. My chest tightens imagining her calm face delivering this blow in person. Why now? There was never any mention of Jackson before. Did she meet him? Did someone report something? Or is it simply that she disapproves? I tap back at the message, but there's nothing to reply to, no questions, only that demand. The weight of inheritance isn't just money. It's a legacy of care, the sense that I belong, that I'm protected. Losing that feels like losing a part of myself. I sink onto the couch, phone clutched to my chest. The apartment feels colder than usual. I think back to childhood holidays, Grandma's house overflowing with cousins, her laughter echoing as we passed dishes around the table. I remember her advice when I struggled with anxiety, how she'd taught me breathing exercises, shared stories from her youth in Chicago, how she overcame hardships after Grandpa died. She was stern at times, but always in service of love, or so I believed. Now, I wonder if I misread firmness for care or if something changed in her life to make her fear for me so drastically. I pace, imagining conversations, telling Jackson I might lose everything because of his existence in my life. I imagine his face, hurt, confused, angry at the unfairness. Yet he'd stand by me, I know that. But part of me worries. What if this ultimatum reveals something deeper? Grandma's control, old family wounds I never recognized, resentments I never saw. I feel torn between loyalty to the woman who raised me emotionally when my parents struggled and the man who stands with me now. My chest aches at the thought of betraying either. I glance at the clock. Late afternoon. Shadows stretch across the floor. I can't pretend this isn't happening. I need answers, but I also need to decide whether to fight or surrender. Fear coils in my stomach at the thought of confronting her, yet avoiding this feels impossible, like living with a secret poison. I lift my phone again, thumb hovering, but I'm not texting yet. Instead, I close my eyes and breathe, recalling Grandma's voice. Courage, Elena, use it when you need it most. The memory stings. I know what I must do, face her directly. I will call her tomorrow, ask to visit, and demand clarity. Part of me trembles at the thought, but another part steels itself. I deserve respect and truth. I need to know why she gave that ultimatum and if there's any way forward without sacrificing my love or my family ties. My heart races as I imagine her reaction. Surprise, anger, perhaps regret. I open my phone to draft a message. Grandma, can we meet tomorrow? I need to talk. My finger hovers over send. No more hiding. Whatever comes next, I have to confront this head on. Because if I don't, I'll never know if love or fear will define my future. Tomorrow, I drive to her house, and I don't know if I'm ready for what comes next. But I can't stay here pretending this choice isn't tearing me apart. I can't focus on anything but that message, even as morning light seeps through my blinds. I sit at my desk in my small Pittsburgh apartment, tracing the rim of my coffee mug while memories flood in. Grandma's kitchen, the scent of cinnamon, her gentle reassurance when I felt lost. Now, every recollection feels tainted by doubt. Was her warmth conditional all along? I replay the ultimatum in my mind. End things with Jackson or lose everything. I weigh the gravity. Financial stability I've only recently reclaimed after job losses, a safety net I counted on, versus the man who held me together when I felt fractured. My chest tightens. I scroll through old photos on my phone. Grandma's bright smile during family gatherings, Jackson's calm gaze at my graduation. Both faces demand loyalty. Neither choice feels safe. I decide to call my friend Mara. Her voice crackles through the speaker. Hey, Elena, you sound off. I exhale, trying to steady my voice. Grandma texted me last night. She wants me to break up with Jackson or be disinherited. Silence. Then, that's heavy. Ultimatums usually signal deeper issues. Have you talked to anyone else in the family? I admit I haven't. I feel guilty, protecting Grandma's image in my mind until now. Mara gently warns, control can hide behind concern. Maybe she's projecting old fears. But also, inheritance isn't trivial. Are you prepared if she follows through? I swallow. Prepared, I don't know. We talk through scenarios. What if I quietly end things and hope Grandma never asks more questions? What if I stand firm and face her wrath? Mara urges caution but also self-respect. Your happiness matters, but go in with eyes open, ask why, listen for past wounds. There might be history you don't know. I hang up feeling both relieved and heavier. Relieved I shared it, heavier realizing I'm alone in deciding how to proceed. At work, I can't concentrate. Emails blur, coworkers' chatter drifts past. I think of telling Jackson but hesitate. I fear his reaction and the weight I'll drop on him. If I tell him now, he'll see worry in my eyes and demand answers before I'm ready. Yet keeping it secret feels dishonest. Lunch passes in a fog. I replay conversations with Grandma, wondering if hints of disapproval ever slipped out before. I recall a distant relative quietly estranged long ago. Grandma warned me not to follow their choices, but I never knew the details. Could this ultimatum be rooted in some old betrayal? Back home, I linger by the window, watching neighbors head out. The world moves on, unaware of my crisis. I realize the ultimatum's impact may stretch beyond me and Jackson. It could expose family rifts I've ignored, force relatives to choose sides, even dredge up secrets best left buried. The thought scares me more than losing inheritance or heartbreak. If I confront Grandma, I might unleash a storm affecting people I love. My phone buzzes with Jackson's text. "Want to grab pizza tonight?" I type a casual reply, unsure if I can smile at him. Inside, anxiety coils tighter. I know I need perspective beyond my own fear. But who else can I trust with pieces of this? And is it even wise to involve more voices before I understand the full picture? The question hangs. What if digging deeper only makes things worse? As evening approaches and the shadows lengthen, I feel the weight of consequences expanding in all directions, and I'm not sure I can navigate what's coming next. I rehearsed the words 100 times as Jackson flicked on the lamp in our living room, the soft glow revealing the worry I could no longer hide. "Hey," he said, settling beside me on the couch with 2 mugs of tea. I swallowed, heart pounding. "Hey," I managed, voice brittle. The silence stretched. Outside, distant traffic hummed, but inside, everything felt suspended. I took a shaky breath. "I need to tell you something important." He glanced at me, concern creasing his brow. "Okay, what's up?" I clutched my mug, warmth seeping into my cold fingers. The words tumbled out. Grandma's ultimatum, the text demanding I end things with him or lose my inheritance. As I spoke, I saw his face shift, first confusion, then hurt lighting his eyes. He set his mug aside. "What? Elena, that's cruel." His voice was low, controlled until it wasn't. "Why would she do that?" I looked away, voice trembling. "I don't know, I haven't asked yet." He leaned forward, eyes intense. "Have you talked to her about why she hates me? Did something happen?" I hesitated, remembering my fear of uncovering deeper wounds. "Not yet, I wanted to understand first." He exhaled sharply. "Understand what? That she tries to control your life, that she'd threaten you over me?" I winced at his tone but nodded. "I'm scared of making it worse without knowing why." "Maybe there's something in her past I don't know." He ran a hand through his hair. "Or maybe she's projecting old hurts. Either way, I don't want you to give in because of fear." His hand found mine, squeezing gently. "We face this together." A wave of relief mixed with guilt washed over me. "Thank you," I whispered, but the knot in my stomach remained. He stood and paced, fists clenched. "She can't treat you like this. If she wants to talk, we talk. If she wants to threaten, we stand up. You deserve that." His determination warmed me, yet I saw the strain. He wanted action now, but I felt unprepared. I forced a small, shaky laugh. "I'm glad you're with me, but I need to know more before I storm in. If there's history, I need context." He paused, gaze softening. "I get it. But don't let fear paralyze you. Even knowing her past, the ultimatum is wrong." I nodded again, though doubt lingered. We talked late into the evening. He asked questions. I answered as honestly as I could without betraying confidences I hadn't uncovered. He shared memories of my grandmother's kindness to him when we first met, her warm smile at Thanksgiving, the way she praised my cooking. He wondered if something changed recently. I admitted I'd sensed subtle disapproval before, but never imagined threats. He reached out, brushing a lock of hair from my face. "I love you. I'll support you, but promise me you won't sacrifice your happiness for a promise of safety that might never come." I closed my eyes, tears slipping free. "I promise I'll try not to give in, but I need time to gather what I know." He nodded, then drew me into a hug. "We'll figure this out." Later, when he left for the night, I sat on the couch, the quiet heavier than before. I felt relief in sharing the burden, yet guilt for dragging him into family drama. I worried I had made him angrier at my hesitation. Still, admitting the truth lifted a weight I'd carried alone. Now the question loomed, how and when to confront my grandmother, and whether to bring Jackson along. I pictured her face, calm but stern, waiting for my explanation. My heart pounded at the thought. I knew the next step would demand courage I wasn't sure I had yet. As I turned off the lamp and climbed into bed, my mind replayed our conversation. His resolve, my caution, the uneasy balance between them. Sleep felt out of reach. Tomorrow, I thought, I'll start gathering what I need. Questions, stories, perhaps an ally among relatives. But tonight, in the darkness, I realized I could no longer hide from the pain ahead. Whatever I uncover may change everything, and I'm not sure I'm ready for that truth. Yet I know I must face it, because secrets never stay buried forever. I stepped onto Grandma's porch, feeling my throat tighten, the wood creaking under my weight like a warning. She opened the door before I could knock, smiling as if nothing were wrong. "Alina, darling, come in," she said, voice warm but eyes guarded. I forced a smile and followed her into the familiar living room, the floral couch and lace doilies unchanged since childhood. My stomach churned as I settled into the armchair she always nudged me toward. She poured tea without asking questions. I held the cup, its warmth a small comfort. I tried to start lightly. "How have you been? Work has been busy," she answered politely, then steered the talk to family news. Cousins' engagements, Aunt Rosa's new job, local church events. I listened, heart pounding, waiting for an opening. Finally, I cleared my throat. "Grandma, there's something I need to discuss with you." Her smile faltered for a moment. I pressed on. "About the message you sent me, the ultimatum." Her gaze dropped to her teacup. She set it down deliberately. "Alina, you know I only want what's best." Her voice was calm, but I sensed the deflection. I swallowed. "I need to understand why you think Jackson is wrong for me." She paused, eyes flicking to the window as if considering escape. "He's a fine young man, but I worry." Her words trailed. I leaned forward. "Worry about what?" She folded her hands. "I've seen how some relationships distract from responsibilities. I worried you'd lose focus on your career, your future." I felt a sting. Career. He supported me through job searches. "He's supported me more than anyone," I said softly. She nodded, but I saw tension in her jaw. "Sometimes love blinds us, Alina. I can't ignore certain patterns in our family history." I bristled. "Which patterns?" She hesitated. "I've lived long enough to know when choices repeat past mistakes. I only intervened because I care." The familiar warmth felt mixed with something colder. I recalled hints of old family splits, but no clear details. "I need specifics," I said, voice trembling. "What happened before?" She took a slow breath. "Some stories are better left untold. You have your own life now." Her tone shut the door. I felt tears press behind my eyes. Frustration hurt. "But without knowing, how can I respect your concerns? You threatened to cut me off without letting me understand." She looked away, voice tight. "I have my reasons. I've earned the right to decide what's best for you." The words felt like a blow. My vision blurred. I gripped my teacup until my knuckles whitened. I thought of Jackson waiting at home, the life we're building. I thought of childhood afternoons baking pies here, feeling loved and safe. Now every memory felt laced with judgment I never noticed before. I tried again. "Grandma, love isn't distraction. And if you fear repeating history, tell me so we can address it together, not demand I choose between family and love." Her lips trembled as if anger and sorrow warred inside. She rose and walked to the window, back turned. "I've said my piece," she murmured. I felt the room shrink. I realized there's a barrier I can't yet breach. Standing to leave, I forced calm. "I hope we could talk openly. If you won't share, I don't know how to move forward." She didn't meet my eyes. I thanked her and stepped outside, the door clicking shut behind me. The afternoon light felt harsh. My chest ached from confrontation, yet burned with determination. There's more beneath her deflections, a history she won't reveal easily. As I walked to my car, I vowed to uncover the truth, even if it means unearthing wounds she's kept hidden. The conflict is deeper than I thought, and I'm only at the beginning of what I must learn next. The old cardboard box felt heavier than any weight I'd carried before as I pried it open in my apartment. The musty scent of yellowed papers and faded photographs, rising like a memory I couldn't ignore. I'm Alina, and after yesterday's tense visit with Grandma, I realized I couldn't move forward blind. I needed context, family history that might explain why she'd threatened me over Jackson. I spread contents across the coffee table. Brittle letters from decades past, a photo of my mother as a teen with a solemn expression, newspaper clippings tucked between pages. Each item pulsed with questions. I started with the letters Grandma had saved from her sister, my great-aunt Clara. The handwriting was elegant, dated back to the 1970s. As I read Clara's soft script, I discovered references to a broken engagement and a family split, Grandma's disapproval of Clara's fiancé, warnings about bad influences, and choices that lead to regret. Clara pleaded for understanding. Grandma's replies, I inferred, were cold, insisting on right priorities. The pattern felt eerily familiar. A knot tightened in my chest. Was Grandma reliving that judgment through me and Jackson? My phone buzzed, Jackson checking in. I hesitated, then texted, "I'm going through family letters." "Might need time tonight," he replied immediately. "Okay, let me know if you need anything." I appreciated his patience but sensed his frustration. He wants action, not more digging. Still, I needed the full picture before confronting Grandma again. I messaged Aunt Rosa, Grandma's eldest daughter, asking if she'd talk. She agreed to meet at a quiet cafe. Over lukewarm coffee, I gently asked, "Did Mom ever tell you why Grandma was so strict about relationships?" She paused, choosing words. "Your grandmother loved fiercely but feared being hurt again. Mom dated someone Grandma thought untrustworthy, they argued, and Mom left home for a while. After that, Grandma clung to control, convinced only she knew what was safe." I felt a mix of empathy and alarm. Fear had hardened into control. "Do you think that's why she's acting now?" I asked. She nodded. "Yes, but you and Jackson aren't your mother. Still, she can't let go easily." Her pity stung. I wanted validation, not sorrow. Back home, I sifted through more letters, some from distant cousins hinting at grudges over inheritance and perceived betrayals. A cousin wrote of feeling cast out when marrying for love rather than career ambition, echoing my own dilemma. Patterns of hurt repeated. Grandma's interventions led to broken ties, lasting resentment. I closed my eyes, feeling both guilt, understanding her fear, and sadness for those who suffered under her control. I pictured Jackson's face. He loves me unconditionally, yet I sensed him growing impatient. I texted him to come over. When he arrived, I showed him a letter fragment. His brow furrowed, reading. "She lost her sister over this." He set it down, exhaling. "I see why you hesitated. But Alina, if she's repeating old mistakes, we can't let that define us." I nodded, grateful but anxious. "I know, I need to know more before we decide our next step." He reached for my hand. "But don't delay forever. She might act before you're ready." A chill settled as I remembered another warning. Earlier that day, I'd spoken with a second cousin who whispered, "She's talking about cutting you off completely, not just money, no contact. She's convinced you'll choose wrong." The words echoed, not just financial disinheritance but emotional exile. My breath caught. The deadline felt closer. Grandma's fear-driven patterns risked repeating unless confronted soon. Yet I still wrestled with empathy. Her fear came from real pain, but also recognized toxicity. That night, I sat on the balcony overlooking city lights. Letters and photos spread around me. Jackson's support buoyed me, but urgency thrummed. I must decide when and how to challenge Grandma's narrative before she severs me entirely. I felt torn. Rushing could provoke her. Waiting could let her act first. My reflection stared back from the sliding glass door. Someone changed by discovery, carrying both empathy for Grandma's wounds and resolve not to be trapped by them. Tomorrow, I realized, I'll choose. Either approach her armed with understanding or prepare for life without her backing. But as I folded a fragile letter into its envelope, I felt the weight of time pressing down. The wounds I've uncovered demand action, and yet I'm scared. What if revealing everything only deepens the fracture? I closed my eyes, heart pounding, knowing the next move could alter my family forever, and I might have too little time left. I felt my pulse drumming in my ears as I stepped off the car in front of Grandma's house, the afternoon sun casting long shadows across the walkway. Jackson sat beside me, squeezing my hand. I inhaled, bracing myself for what I'd unearthed and rehearsed. Inside, the living room looked the same. Floral sofa, lace doilies, framed family photos lining the mantel. But everything felt charged. Grandma greeted us with a polite smile, her eyes steady. "Elena, Jackson, come in," she said, voice calm but cool. I noticed the slight tension in her posture. She'd expected me, but perhaps not with him. We settled. I on the armchair, Jackson on the sofa, Grandma in her usual seat opposite. Tea was offered. I accepted but barely touched it. I had questions burning in my chest. I began gently. "Grandma, I learned about Clara's broken engagement and how you feared history repeating. I understand your worries come from pain, but I need to talk openly about what led to the ultimatum." Her expression tightened. She folded her hands. "Pain doesn't justify scolding my granddaughter into abandoning someone she loves," I continued. "I respect your experiences, but I also need respect for my life choices." She sighed, looking away briefly, then back at me. "I never intended to punish you unfairly. I acted out of fear." I felt relief at her admission but pressed on. "Fear from the past is valid, but I'm not Clara. Jackson and I share responsibilities. He's supported me and I trust him. I want you to see that." She paused, then spoke softly. "When Clara left, I felt helpless. I promised I wouldn't let anyone I love repeat that mistake. I see you happy, but I worry. What if love blinds you to red flags I can't yet see?" I leaned forward. "If there were signs, tell me. But threats of disinheritance don't open dialogue, they close it." I came prepared to listen, but I also need you to hear me. I choose autonomy and partnership with Jackson. Her eyes glistened. She inhaled sharply. Jackson cleared his throat. "Ma'am, I respect you and what you've given Elena, but I love her and will protect her. If there are specific concerns, I want to address them, but ultimatums aren't respect." He spoke firmly but not angrily. Grandma's gaze shifted between us. She exhaled. "I appreciate your words, but a grandson-in-law is not the same as a daughter's fiancé from decades ago." Her tone was measured, yet I sensed the old wound beneath. I swallowed. I'm not asking you to erase the past. I'm asking for trust in my judgment. I've learned from history. Clara's story taught me to communicate, not hide. If you fear something, share it now. She hesitated, gaze dropping to her teacup. Then, in a quieter voice, she recounted a story I'd never heard. A moment when Clara confided in her fiancé about family finances, only for him to react poorly, causing scandal and a rift that haunted Grandma for years. As she spoke, I saw tears in her eyes, fear mingled with regret. I listened, heart aching for her pain. When she finished, I gently reached out. I'm sorry you suffered. I promised to guard my relationship with honesty and openness. Jackson and I have been transparent about finances, plans, and respect for family. I ask, let go of the threat so trust can grow. She looked at Jackson. You speak well, but how can I be certain this won't repeat? Jackson met her eyes. Because we welcome your involvement, guidance, not control. We'll share our decisions, listen to advice, but not be bound by fear. Silence settled. I felt my pulse slow as I waited. Grandma exhaled, eyes moist. I see your resolve. I worry less when I feel included rather than defied. She folded her hands. I will rescind the ultimatum if you agree to keep communication open and consider my perspective when serious decisions arise. But know this, if I sense betrayal again, I cannot pretend I wasn't warning you. Her words hung between us, a reluctant peace but with caution. I nodded, relief and sorrow mingling. I agree. I want us to have a relationship built on trust, not fear. Jackson reached for my hand, and I felt both hope and lingering tension. We'd won this battle, but scars remained. As we rose to leave, Grandma placed a gentle hand on my arm. I love you, Elena. I only wanted to protect you, though I went about it wrongly. My throat tightened. I managed a smile. Outside, I exhaled into the cool air, grateful yet aware. This resolution is fragile, and healing will take time. But for now, the ultimatum is lifted, and the real work of rebuilding trust begins. Yet as I glanced back at the front door, I wondered, can old wounds truly heal, or will they shadow our future? I gripped Jackson's hand tighter, knowing the next chapter awaits. I woke to an empty apartment, sunlight slanting through blinds and landing on the stack of unopened bills on the table. Reminders that peace after confrontation doesn't erase real-life pressures. Relief from Grandma rescinding her ultimatum still fluttered in my chest, but anxiety lurked beneath. I poured coffee and sat on the couch, replaying yesterday's conversation, her tentative promise balanced by that warning of betrayal. It felt like standing on shifting ground. At work, I forced focus on routine tasks, but every time my phone buzzed, I braced for news. A bank alert about reduced inheritance funds or a message from relatives choosing sides. Some colleagues noticed my quiet. I deflected with practiced smiles. During lunch, I scrolled Reddit threads about family ultimatums, surprised how many confessed similar pain. Commenters offered solidarity. You deserve autonomy. Boundaries save you. Reading their stories felt both comforting and raw. This ordeal wasn't unique, yet my feelings remained personal and jagged. That evening, Jackson and I met friends at a small bar. I watched him laugh easily, but I felt dissonance. I was grateful to share normalcy yet uneasy about discussing family. When a friend asked how things were, I said lightly, better but complicated, and left it at that. I couldn't bear platitudes or pity. I needed genuine advice but feared oversharing. Later, as we walked home, Jackson linked arms with me. You did well, he said quietly. I leaned into him, voice low. I wish relief felt simpler. I'm grateful Grandma relented, but the warning stings. What if she withdraws again? He squeezed my hand. We'll handle it. Budget adjustments, living arrangements, whatever comes. His confidence warmed me, yet I wondered if I overestimated our readiness for practical fallout. At home, I tallied finances, moving costs if I lose more support, emergency fund levels. Numbers felt concrete relief compared to emotional uncertainty. I drafted a budget spreadsheet, tracking rent, utilities, savings. Creating a plan made me feel empowered, but also saddened. I might not need inheritance, but knowing I could live without it meant redefining security on my own terms. I shared the sheet with Jackson. He offered suggestions, cutting subscriptions, picking up freelance work. We joked about tight budgets, but beneath humor lay recognition. Our future required collaboration and sacrifice. Meanwhile, I reached out to cousins I'd contacted during research. Some responded with cautious empathy, others remained distant or defensive toward Grandma. One cousin warned, she's fragile, don't push too hard. Another shared bitterness. I never got over feeling cast out. These conversations gave context, but also reminded me family healing can be slow or impossible. I journaled late at night, wrestling guilt over exposing Grandma's past and relief at understanding. Writing helped clarify my feelings, gratitude for connection tempered by sorrow for rifts. One afternoon, I drafted a Reddit post outlining my experience, anonymized yet honest, and hesitated before posting it in a support subreddit. I feared judgment but longed to help others. After rereading, I clicked post, heart racing as comments appeared. Encouragement, shared stories, advice about boundaries. I felt less alone. Yet reading someone suggest go no contact made me wonder if reconciliation is worth the fragility. My fingers hovered over replies. Share more details or preserve privacy. The choice reminded me how this ordeal reshaped trust in myself. I decide what to reveal and where. As weeks pass, tentative calls with Grandma resume. Brief check-ins about health or recipes, but I hold back deeper discussions until trust feels steadier. Jackson and I plan a small getaway to recharge, acknowledging the tension still simmers beneath normal life. Lying awake at night, I reflect on how this conflict changed me. I moved from fear to agency, yet scars remain. I wonder, will family bonds heal fully, or will I always brace for the next test? The uncertainty lingers, but I'm learning to live amid questions rather than answers, and maybe that's where real growth begins. I never expected peace to feel so fragile, like a thin pane of glass that could shatter with a sharp word or a missed call. Months have passed since Grandma lifted her ultimatum, and I'm still navigating the space between relief and vigilance. Some days, I wake with gratitude, no longer haunted by constant dread over her threats. Other days, a pang of unease reminds me how close I came to losing her support and, more painfully, her trust. Jackson and I settled into a new rhythm. Budgeting evenings spent poring over spreadsheets, weekend getaways planned around our tighter finances, and small rituals to celebrate our partnership, Sunday baking sessions echoing Grandma's old lessons, though now made our own. We talk openly about our future, saving for a shared apartment, discussing potential career moves, weighing starting a family someday. In each conversation, I feel the weight of autonomy. Choices belong to us, not dictated by fear of inheritance or approval. That realization buoyed me when I drafted my Reddit post, sharing my story in hopes it might help someone else trapped by a family ultimatum. The flood of comments, empathy, advice, warnings reminded me I'm part of a larger community of people forging their own paths. My relationship with Grandma has settled into cautious civility. We exchange occasional texts, a photo of her new garden blooms, a message about a recipe she's perfected. When we speak by phone, we touch on everyday matters, my job updates, her health checkups. I listen more than I share, testing the waters of trust. She avoids bringing up deeper topics unless I prompt gently. The progress feels incremental, small acknowledgments of my independence, a hint of pride when I tell her Jackson designed my birthday gift. Yet sometimes I sense her holding back, past wounds too raw to discuss fully. I've learned to accept that some stories remain locked, and pressing too hard risks reopening old fractures. I visited her last month for coffee. The air between us was warm but tinged with unspoken history. She asked about work, then hesitated before saying, "I hope you know I'm proud of you." Those words landed like fragile petals, beautiful but easily crushed. I nodded, voice catching. "I know, and I appreciate it." In that moment, I recognized reconciliation as an ongoing process, not a single event. Healing isn't forgetting, it's choosing to engage despite scars. Friends and relatives remain a patchwork of support and distance. Some cousins reached out more genuinely after seeing me stand my ground. Others stayed distant, loyal to old grievances. I've accepted that family is not always a define-all safety net. Instead, I built my own support system. Friends who understand boundaries, online communities where sharing feels safe, Jackson's steadfast presence. That network taught me resilience beyond inheritance or blood ties. Yet I still wrestle with guilt now and then, knowing Grandma's fear stemmed from real pain, feeling empathy for her losses while guarding my own happiness. I journal these conflicting emotions. Gratitude for lessons learned about communication, sorrow for relationships that never healed fully, hope that time may soften her reservations further. Some nights, I dream of long conversations where she and I unpack every hurt. I wake remembering that such dreams may remain just that, dreams. As I type this, I sit at my desk in Pittsburgh, looking out at the skyline I once saw as a backdrop to family memories now reshaped by my choices. I feel stronger, more self-assured, though tempered by the knowledge that autonomy carries responsibility, to myself and to those I love. I'm planning to share a revised version of my story online, balancing honesty with respect for privacy, hoping it sparks dialogue about setting boundaries without erasing empathy. I don't know what the future holds for Grandma and me. Maybe one day she'll share more of her past wounds. Maybe we'll always skirt around the hardest truths. But I've learned that walking forward with my head held high, acknowledging pain, honoring love, and trusting my own judgment is the only path I can take. If my story helps someone else weigh loyalty against self-respect, then every sleepless night and difficult conversation was worth it. And if they comment to share their own experiences, I'll be there, offering the same solidarity I once needed. Because sometimes surviving an ultimatum means discovering that family can be chosen as much as inherited, and that choice, however fragile, can lead to real growth.